people say that prompt engineering is going to be a profession. That is not true. There are three core components that severely influence the trajectory of your life. Number one, your college. Number two, the city you work in after your college. And number three, your first company, your first professional experience. As influencers, we get paid by other companies to sell your attention. That is how the business works. You pick a field that, of course, has some future, and mostly I would recommend you to pick a career that is B2B oriented. I am not getting paid for my intellect. I am getting paid because I entered the game early. Make sure that the content topic that you choose has a good enough addressable market. In this year, I personally see a lot of creators only making anywhere around 55 to 60,000 rupees per reel for the same reel that they were getting paid 1 lakh earlier.
Before I start, I have something interesting that I want to do with you. Okay. I'm going to take out my phone, and because I was in Delhi and I got a bit lazy, so I didn't send you any question. Can you confirm that I haven't sent you any questions?
Yeah, I have no clue what he's going to ask me.
Okay, and this is not scripted at all, guys, and that's what we believe in, and we are not going to script it. I'm going to open ChatGPT in this. Okay, and you are going to tell me a prompt where I should ask you what questions that is useful for the people who are sitting here and probably into the community that's going to listen to it. Here is it, guys. This is the chat GPT that's open. I'm going to type whatever prompt he is going to tell me right now in front of you. And whatever question comes up, I'm going to take those questions up, along with the questions that probably I want to ask him because he has given me some answers. Okay, please.
I mean, I will give you the prompt very soon, but just a disclaimer, ChatGPT would do a terrible job.
Let's see. We'll see that.
Awesome. So just to clear out some first principles of prompting, there are three things you need to do. Number one, you set the context. So can you write what exactly this show is about and who is the guest? So you can say that we're having a podcast with a person who has some experience in the field of AI. And this is a 45-minute long podcast. I can ask anywhere around 5 to 6 questions. The topics can be around education and upskilling. So let's just set the context. Otherwise, ChatGPT will not know where we are, what we are trying to do, and who is the person we are asking questions. So now I will add constraints. Say that keep your questions simple and to the point. And frame them in a way where the answers can be converted into a viral reel. So now that we have set the context, now that we have added a constraint, at the very end, we need to add the expectation. So the expectation is that you need to make sure that you take inspiration from top journalists and keep your questions very, very interesting. And one important trick that a lot of ChatGPT prompters are using is that think twice before you say something. Even after so much of work, it will still give you terrible questions.
Probably that's where I would come in to save the day. Considering the evolving landscape of AI and its impact on business studies, how do you envision MBA students leverage artificial intelligence to shape the future? Is this the right set of questions that it has derived? Can you check once?
Correct. So you can just say, give me a list of 5 questions. Then it will sort of create a bullet list out of it. So these are the things that you can add an expectation. So right now by default, the things that let me give you a paragraph, but in the expectation, आप बोल सकते हो that give me a bullet list of 5 questions. So these are the small things that you need to add in expectation.
And that's exactly what Ansh Mehra does for you. He teaches you how to set the context. He teaches you how to put questions, and he makes it easier for you guys to copy your assignments, and probably much more than that. So Ansh, welcome once again, and thank you for this. It was something that I really wanted to do and see what it comes up with. But let's start our conversation with the way we started, by knowing the person first, and help me understand, how did you become this person that you have become online? Did you know that this is going to be your identity while you were growing up and you're doing your engineering? How did all this happen?
I still feel that I'm still evolving. I don't think I've found my niche yet. I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but I was a single child, so my parents made me do engineering. कि एकलौता लड़के को डायरेक्टर थोड़ी ना बना देंगे. So I did engineering, computer science engineering, but throughout the process, I tried a lot of things. So I tried development, marketing, music, even rap, and eventually I came across UX.
Do we have some of those videos of you rapping?
So I was more towards the production side of things as to producing music. And eventually I found UX design, which is a very upcoming field. It's how you design apps and websites. And India में अभी UX का demand बहुत ज़्यादा है and supply बहुत कम है. So I knew that rather than going for a job placement जहाँ पे there is so much of competition, why not do UX जहाँ पे I can negotiate my salary. So I joined Swiggy directly after my college. And after Swiggy, I joined a startup called Zuddle, where I was their first designer responsible to make the entire thing from scratch. तो वहाँ से सीखा कि एक स्टार्टअप कैसे ग्रो होता है. आई सॉ द सीरीज ए का प्रोसेस कि कैसे आप एक प्रोडक्ट को बनाते हो. बट थ्रू आउट दिस इंटायर प्रोसेस आई रियलाइज कि यूट्यूब पे कोई डिज़ाइन नहीं सिखा रहा है, यूट्यूब पे कोई यूएक्स साइकोलॉजी नहीं सिखा रहा है, एंड देयर इज नो वे टू लर्न हाउ टू बिल्ड अ ग्रेट टेक प्रोडक्ट. सो आई स्टार्टेड मेकिंग कॉन्टेंट. And people know me because of AI content, but primarily I create design content where I teach people how to design apps and websites. Because AI content is not a niche, it's like teaching you how to Google. Abhi people feel that, oh, you know Chat GPT, you know AI, what a big deal, but it's just going to be like YouTubing and Googling. In the next 2 to 3 years, everyone will know. In fact, people say that prompt engineering is going to be a profession. That is not true. आप जो भी अपना काम कर रहे हो उसके अंदर you will have to prompt, whether you're in finance or sales or in marketing. Just like Googling is not a profession, even prompting is not going to be a profession. So I was inherently very interested in prompting, so I started teaching that. Some videos did well, and that is why people know of it. But now I really enjoy making content. I feel like distribution is key. In fact, you will see a lot of CEOs and business owners also making content because they are realizing कि marketing पे खर्चने से better है, let's make content, spend 1/10 of the amount, gain trust, gain distribution. So yeah, I'm just continuing the same thing. I haven't left my full-time job. I still have my full-time job. And in parallel, I'm doing these things and then consulting businesses on how they can use design and AI.
Right. Ansh, very interestingly, you chose these paths for yourself, probably because you saw them online, or probably, you had mentors, probably because you were going to places or hanging out with people who gave you the direction, right? Was it the case in your life because you grew up in a city, it was easier for you, you had access and you had the privilege? Or you think that this is possible for the janta that stays in tier 2, tier 3 cities?
Yeah, so I think when you are very, very young, you feel like your success is because of your hard work, but 70% of it is luck and 60 to 70% of it's privilege. So the thing is, I personally feel that a lot of these games are unfair. For a person who's living in Delhi versus a person who's living in a very remote city, the dynamics change, the economics change. So in the end, you need to figure out what do you have, what kind of cards are you dealt with, and how well can you play that hand, right? Because if you can't change the cards, then you have to change the way you play the hand. You can't quit the game, right? So what you need to do is you need to take inventory of what you have. In my case, I had immense privilege because my parents had sent me to a good school. That helped me improve my soft skills. Then I went to a good college. They paid the fee for it. I had enough money to go to Bangalore. So I think there are three core components that severely influence the trajectory of your life. Number one, your college. Number two, the city you work in after your college. And number three, your first company, your first professional experience, because that defines the way you look at jobs. My first job was great. That is why I love the corporate culture. But if I have so many friends who had a terrible internship and now they are above the idea of doing a job, they are forcing themselves to become entrepreneurs simply because their first job experience was terrible. Whereas in reality, I know so many people who have great jobs. You don't have to be necessarily an entrepreneur to live a great life.
And how important do you feel that, you said that improving your soft skills, and a lot of people come to me and tell me that, how do I make it better? How do I keep the fear aside? As I was talking to somebody before the session started, they said that, how do you do it, right? And do you think that's a currency that a lot of these students will have to develop through certain courses or something that's available online, or talking to people, or just in general getting better to it? And do you think that the MBAs, the B schools, where they do these MBAs, actually teach them this skill more than anything else?
No, I personally feel that there are a lot of things that cannot be taught, but they can be learned, right? And Naval Ravikant says this again and again. Soft skills is a subject that you have to learn yourself. I can't teach you how to behave. I can teach you design, I can teach you coding, I can teach you prioritization, but I can't teach you tamiz or lihaz. That is something that you learn by observing. So I personally feel that there are components to your personality, and I have made a long YouTube playlist. It's literally called Improve Your Life, where I break down all of these components. But I think the most important ones are the way you speak, the way you reply, the way you negotiate. So this comes under your verbal communication. Then you also have your textual communication, as to how do you communicate on text? How well do you write? How clearly do you write? Now, all of these things start with good reading. So you read something that is well written, then you start thinking clearly, then you start writing clearly, then you start speaking clearly, then you start teaching clearly. So these are the levels that you can oscillate, but it all starts with reading something that is well written. So I think that is something that you can start.
We're seeing day in and day out defects coming up. uh, you know it has potential to cause a third world war, probably. That's what I feel, right? And in case that if we are not aware of it fully, as you said, that if we don't um really understand the power that it has, it can cause harm to us as well, right? On the ethical side, how do you see AI and its implications to be? How do you think regulations are needed in the country? And if yes, uh, how should that framework be?
I think it is super scary. I think the only reason why we're not having chaos is because most people don't know how to use AI. But if people really knew how to use AI, it's super scary, the kind of stuff that you can do. I am in the circuit, so I know the kind of terrible stuff people are sharing using these AI tools. The only fix is that governments need to take this super, super seriously. Our governments need to sit down with social media platforms. They need to sit with the people who regulate content everywhere to make sure that there are guidelines, there are specific teams to target these deepfakes and image manipulations, because the kind of harassment and the kind of cases that will skyrocket once this technology becomes accessible, it's going to be insane. Even right now, there are so many people who can Photoshop an image of you and put it on a random website, and you can't do anything about it. There is no place where you can actually fix these things quickly. And this is just one of those examples. Like, there are so many scams that are happening on WhatsApp, where they would take a voice recording of some of your friends and send you a voice note saying कि इस number पे इतने पैसे Paytm कर दो, and you would not even know. So I think governments first need to start informing themselves. Then people and families need to sit down and just understand the basics of AI in general. For example, there's a very important trick that people are sharing, that your family needs to have a code word, right? For example, if somebody phone calls you or FaceTimes you, then that word tells you whether this person is real or not. And that word can be something as random as, a golden brinjal, right? A golden brinjal. So if your mom is texting you saying that send money to this, I'm an emergency, you first ask your mom that code word. Otherwise, it could be a bot, right? So you need these identifiers to make sure that you're talking to your real parent. And it all begins with education. That is why most of our content is very in-depth and it's freely accessible. Because I want to make sure that majority of the young students educate themselves. Because if young students educate themselves, then they can have these conversations at the dinner table. Because I know that their parents will not watch me. It is only their kids who will watch me, and maybe getting inspired, the kids will talk to their parents that this is what I saw.
Parents are still struggling with WhatsApp. I'm telling you. Chat GPT and AI is too far, I think, for them right now. With respect to where we have come to with respect to AI, because it's still new, as we were all mentioning. It's been probably 12 months, not even that, the common man has started talking about it, right? and we are waking up to the potentials of that as well. And that's why we are seeing creators like you coming in and filling those shoes and telling people that, this is something that you probably need, right? Do you think a lot of them are doing it because it's a wave and they will, sort of go somewhere else because they are probably also looking at this as an opportunity to get some views, probably to make a community, and then probably make an exit and, go away and do something else?
Yeah, so that I think that is the content game. I think in content, me and every other creator is optimizing to get attention, right? Because as influencers, we get paid by other companies to sell your attention. That is how the business works. So if I make a video saying AI will take your job, and I don't do that, but like there are so many creators who would make a video like that, AI will replace designers, AI will replace video editors, and then they will make you anxious, right? And then you will click on it. We personally made sure that we don't do that, absolutely don't do that, because then if you make somebody anxious, then they will watch the video in a state of anxiety, and then nothing goes in their brain. So I know that some jobs are going to be replaced, but let's not make people anxious about it. Okay. Coming back to the topic, I feel like almost every creator is optimizing to hop on trends. There are very few creators who are legacy creators who've been in the game for like 10 years. So then they don't ride on this wave. But when it comes to beginner creators like me, we are always looking for the trend. Now, you can always hop on a trend in a very ethical manner as well. So in our case, we need to make sure that, of course, we're talking about a trend and we will eventually exit. But you can't say something which is out of proportion. You can't say something which is unnecessary. I see so many creators who are just blabbering. Like they have no clue what they're saying. And their goal is to first make you anxious and then sell you a course. And we also thought we'll sell a course, right? Every creator thinks that it's very easy money. But then we were just stuck because I personally feel that when it comes to a field like AI, you can't make a pre-recorded course because the syllabus changes every week. If I record a video on Monday, by the time it's Friday, the syllabus has changed. So we decided let's do B2B. So right now we're focusing on B2B live workshops. Sometimes we do live events, live meetups. So I think then I can change the syllabus. But I think a lot of creators are hopping on this trend of making you anxious and then selling you a pre-recorded course. Don't do that. Always go for live courses and always go with a person who you know makes sense, right? So yeah, I think people will hop on the trend and they will all exit. This is just a phase.
Uh, in case we are talking about the kind of industries that AI is going to impact, do you have any sense or do you have any visibility as to which are these sectors that you're
Every
looking?
industry, because it is fundamentally changing the way we consume content, the way we consume information, and the way we take decisions. See, consumption of information and decision making cuts through domains. You take decisions in the world of finance, sales, marketing, everywhere. So it's almost like asking, will Google influence multiple industries? It's going to be so universal. This is going to be very, very game changing for everyone.
But any industry in particular that you see is taking up or soaking AI like anything and it's getting better.
Data science, anything relating to data and numbers and text, I think those fields will be impacted severely.
Can you give me an example as to any such company or anything that come across in your study that you were doing that has helped them in a big way? Or, for example, how data science is becoming more and more go-to sort of a career option for a lot of engineers as well. When you were graduating, were you also seeing that wave coming up at that point in time, or there were other options then? And you're seeing graduates of today who are probably in the third year, fourth year moving towards those kind of career options.
I mean, of course, right? But when people ask me this question कि अंश कौन से field में scope है, कौन से field में है, it's usually because they want to pursue that field, right? It's never really out of interest. Now, if you want the answer to this question कि आपको कौन सा field pursue करना है, you need to ask yourself, what is it that's something that can interest you even 3 a.m. at night, right? Because if something keeps you bored, you can't scale in it. Right? So even if I say, oh, data science में बहुत scope है, but if you're not inherently interested in numbers and data, then you will not be able to scale after a certain point. So this is how it works. Let's just say that I don't like programming, but I decide to become a software developer. and I start learning software development just because मुझे किसी ने बोल दिया इस पे बहुत scope है. I will बहुत पैसे मिलेंगे. So I will go from 0 to 5 lakh rupees a month in a career span of 5 to 6 years. I will reach 5 lakhs a month, which is a good amount of money. But as soon as I hit 5 lakh rupees a month, 5 से 10 lakh rupees तक जाने के लिए, VP के level तक जाने के लिए, I need to be obsessed with software engineering. Like supremely obsessed, right? Where it means that I will dig deeper and deeper. When you reach that threshold, when you reach that ceiling, you start competing with people who are actually passionate about your subject. वहाँ पे अब आप हारने लग जाते हो. और होता क्या है कि 5-6 साल आपके करियर के निकल जाते हैं. अब आप बोलते हो कि यार 5 लाख से ऊपर मैं इसलिए नहीं टाप पा रहा हूँ क्योंकि आई एम नॉट ऑब्सेस्ड विद इट, एंड नाउ आई कांट गो बैक टू स्कूल बिकॉज आई कांट चेंज माई करियर डोमेन्स नाउ, एंड देन you are stuck. So please make sure that when you are young, you pick a field that of course has some future, and mostly I would recommend you to pick a career that is B2B oriented. For example, if you love to play the flute, now a flute is not a skill that can help a business make money or save time. Okay? So you need to figure out कि आप जो भी skill सीख रहे हो, will it help a business save time or will it help a business save money? If those two are getting sorted, then figure out if you're genuinely interested in it, and then use something like Google Bard and ChatGPT to, create a learning path.
Is this why you quit coding to?
Yeah, exactly, because I love design. But I could have picked something like illustrations as well. I could have picked like sketches as well. मैं sketches बनाता था बचपन में, right? Like face portraits. But I realized that if I make face portraits, this is not helping a business make money, right? And even when I go to design, I realize let's do graphic design. But I realize that even for a business, graphic design is also not helping them make a lot of money, right? If the poster is not that good looking, it still works. But when I realized app design, I was like, this actually helps a business make money.
Graphic designers don't make much.
No, so actually, even in UX design, designers don't make money. I think at this point, when it comes to making money, there are different components again. Number one is your skill. Number two is where you're positioned. And number three, how good you are at selling yourself. So positioning plays a huge role. I know so many graphic designers who make easily 10 to 12 lakh rupees a month as freelancers, right? And now they've opened up an agency, they're scaling. I know momos बेचने वाले भी who are making 6 to 7 lakh rupees a month. I know dahi balle बेचने वाले भी who are making crores. So it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're positioned well and you know how to sell.
Have you done like a small study, or in your understanding, which are the kind of areas that students can get into after, say, for example, engineering? If they don't want to do an MBA for the first 2 year, 3 year, they want to build on something. Which are some of these job roles that they can get into that is potentially high paying?
I mean, there are so many, right? Like the list would never end. I'll tell you 3 non-IT career domains that I feel are pretty good and 3 IT domains. Okay, when it comes to 3 non-IT, and these are not related to business, these are some very low-hanging fruits. This you can do as your part-time hustle, not your core, but like a part-time way to make money. Number one, it is now ghostwriting. Ghostwriting on LinkedIn and Twitter. I feel like so many CEOs and so many co-founders are looking to build their own brand. And if you're a good copywriter, of course, being a great copywriter helps you anywhere. If you can write as a ghostwriter for all of these CEOs, it's a good passive income because as a ghostwriter, you can cater to 10, 15 CEOs in one single go. Another one, content enabler. So I will not recommend people to become content creators anymore because there's very less money in content creation, but it's a lot of money is there in content enabling, which means that in a gold rush, you start selling the shovel, which means that you become a short video editor, you become a talent manager, you become a negotiator for brands. So it doesn't matter if the creator makes money or not because you're the enabler for the creator. So there's a lot of money in that. Third one would be just your ability to start doing marketing in general. So when I say marketing, it would be performance marketing, it could be social media marketing, but just understanding why people buy and just understand the basics of attention. So these are non-IT. When it comes to IT level skills, I think product management, super cool. I think this will never go out of trend. Very basic to understand. Second, UX design, because I personally feel that a lot of front-end development is getting automated, a lot of back-end is getting automated, but design is yet to be automated. I see so many AI tools who can make single screens, but when it comes to successful products, you need a lot of human thought into it. So UX is one of those. If any of you are interested in development, there's this thing called as MERN stack, M-A-R-N, MERN stack. And even though a lot of it is getting automated, if you know the basics of MERN stacks, even as a PM, really, really helpful. And of course, prompting, like just the basics of prompting and knowing how to use AI tools, you can actually help companies integrate AI tools into their day-to-day businesses, right? Into their day-to-day work. And you get paid simply because you are interested in AI, right? It's not a very difficult subject to learn. Like if I were to teach you prompting, you'd realize कि ये तो अंश बहुत simple सी चीज पढ़ा रहा है. So why am I getting paid by companies? Because I know it first. So I am not getting paid for my intellect. I am getting paid because I entered the game early. And there's a big difference in that.
So do you think it can be for a few years that you do it, but you can't scale it after a point, because there will be more and more creators talking about it. There will be more people getting into it, which will eventually make the kind of market Red Sea, right? For them to not find anything. Just like the way the finance creator wave that happened, this will also kind of will take place in future. So do you then propagate or say that you need to keep reinventing yourself as to what you are projecting yourself to be in the market and the image that you're creating in front of people?
Correct. So of course you have to evolve, otherwise the audience gets bored of you. I feel a lot of content creators think that content creation is a lifelong career, but it's not. The truth is that it has a window, it has a shelf life. And content creation is a distribution channel. Eventually, you will get to a point where you will have to make a product and sell it on the distribution. So in the beginning, of course, you get good money as a content creator, and for a year or two, you will have a good run. But almost every content creator who's enough self-aware knows that this has a shelf life and people get bored of you. And you can't scale it because you'll have a family, you get married, you have kids, you can't make videos forever. So all of them shift towards making a product. There's also the concept of addressable market, which means that, there are some sports that just get attention by default, but there are some sports that do not get attention. For example, carom is not a sport, but I have never seen a carom match online, right? I've barely seen a chess match coming on TV, right? But there are other sports that get a lot of attention. Now, does that mean that one sport is lesser than other? Not really. But it's just that the market has been designed in a specific way. Similarly, on YouTube, there are some topics that do really well. Could be business case studies, could be Bollywood, could be about conflict. So these things do really, really well. So if you're a content creator in these fields, it is easy to make a 1 million view wala video. But for a person like me who's teaching UX, or for a person like me who's teaching prompting, we can barely target to get 1 million views again and again. It's very, very difficult, because does that mean that our topics are shitty? Not really. The addressable market is different. So you just need to make sure that the content topic that you choose has a good enough addressable market. And if it does not have enough addressable market, you are prepared for it. That you have your expectations set correctly, and then you have other ways to monetize and have enough income.
Since we're talking about income, and this is something that I asked to all the creators, and probably I will ask Ishan also when I meet him, how much do creators actually make? So for example, a creator of your scale, one, for a fact that you are not only getting the money from the revenue that you are earning from your YouTube, because that's something that a lot of people now have known because they have seen countless videos about them. What are the kind of things that comes up which makes your the pay satisfying enough for you to continue doing it for 1-2 years? Because that also has an opportunity cost, right? Because if you decided not to do this, and you decided to work somewhere for 2 years, you will think that whether I'm getting the same amount of ROI or not before I'm joining a particular B school or any place that I want to go to.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the behind the scenes of this question, right? So anytime ये जो question होता है ना, how much money do you make, ये हमेशा एक reel में आता है, ठीक है? और
वायरल रील बनानी,
हाँ, ये एक वायरल रील बनानी है, तो ये किसी क्रिएटर से पूछेंगे कि आप कितना कमाते हो, एंड 60 seconds में आपको वो आंसर शॉर्ट में बताना है. Now, if you were to look at the history of this question, there are 2-3 big creators who have answered this question, and they were thoroughly roasted, that their life was messed up after answering this question. So usually a lot of creators never tell how much they make. But what I can do is, and I will also not tell you how much I make because I don't want that stress after the reel goes live. But I'll give you a tentative figure and how the dynamics work. Okay, and this is not an easy answer. This is a pretty complicated answer, but I'll cover the basics. Number one is again your CPM, which is cost per mile. So the thing is that if there are two YouTubers, one creates daily vlogs and one creates content on businesses, the business content creator will get more money per 1,000 views as compared to a person who creates daily vlogs. What is the logic behind this? Because YouTube pays you money out of ad revenue, which means that there are businesses, multiple businesses who bid to get their ad in between your video. Now, if you create tech content, the bidding amount goes high as compared to a person who's just creating daily vlogs. Now, why is the bidding amount high? Why is the company willing to pay high? Because the target viewer of a tech content has higher paying capacity as compared to a person who's watching daily vlogs. Because most daily vlogs are seen by people who are just chilling and relaxing and kids. But when it comes to business content or tech content, you assume that this is either a young professional or a student. So you make good content that is targeted towards a high ticket audience, business bids more, and your CPM goes higher. Now, when it comes to monetization, people say that YouTube money is really, really good, but it only matters when you have a great addressable market and you get 100k, 200k views on every single video and your CPM is really, really high. If you get 1 million views and your CPM is very, very low, your revenue is very, very bad. I think most creators make good money from brand sponsorships and brand integrations. Earlier in COVID, Instagram was paying really, really well. So between 2020 to 2021, if a creator was in finance, business, tech, or upskilling, and if that creator had 100k plus followers, plus every reel was touching 75 to 100k views. These are the components, folks. It's a complicated algorithm. The subject, then your follower, then also the view count, because you can have 100k followers and just 11k views on your reel. So this is the concept of impression. Followers 100k, impressions. And then if you are getting 100k, in 2020, reel creators were getting anywhere between 75 to 80,000 rupees per reel. Okay. Then in 2023, it peaked and it went to even 1.5 lakhs for per reel if it was hitting 100k plus in those domains. Then by 2022, people went back to offices and they were spending less times on their phones. So then again, businesses started reinvesting in newspapers, TV channels and radios. So the budget allocated for marketing was again getting diluted. Earlier, the entire budget of marketing was only spent on social media because in lockdown, everyone was on their phones. So at this point in this year, I personally see a lot of creators only making anywhere around 55 to 60,000 rupees per reel for the same reel that they were getting paid 1 lakh earlier. Now the competition has also increased a lot because now the brands have so many options. Earlier in COVID, brands were only targeting impressions, which means that if you get 100k views, you will get paid 1 lakh rupees without any guarantees. Now when a brand comes to you, they give you this thing which is called a UTM link. So in a UTM link, let's just say that I am promoting an app and the app has a sign-up process. So I will say, I will sell you the reel and then it'll be like, go to the link in my bio to download this app, right? And they would go to that link and the company would track that from Ansh Mehra, how many downloads did I get? From Ansh Mehra, how many conversions did I get? And then they would often have a minimum guarantee that these are the kind of conversions we need. We'll pay you 50% upfront and 50% only after you get these many conversions. Now, once they work with you for a single time, they will check your conversions. And let's just say you get 100k impressions, but just 10 conversions. Okay. Next time the business comes to you, they will significantly drop your rate from 60,000 to 30,000. Because now for businesses, conversions are way more valuable than impressions. Now, this is really, really good for creators who have a loyal audience. Because now a creator who gets 100k views and maybe 50 conversions will get same as a creator who gets just 10k views and same level of conversions. Because you can still get 100k views and not have any conversion, but you can have a really loyal audience with just 10,000 views getting the same amount of conversions. So when you ask how much does a creator make, these are the parameters you need to check. impressions, conversions, audience, and only then you can decide how much they pay.
Superb. I can't fit all of this in a 60.
You can't.
Probably there are 2-3 reels that I have to make now. But I mean, what I feel, and probably you will be able to give me a better picture of it. Marketers are going to use the tools that are coming up, the AI tools, much more, and probably that's coming in from my bias because I understand marketing a little better than anything else that as a sector. Uh, which are these tools that probably some of these marketers can use, the AI tools? And I'm not asking because some of them actually will
Yeah,
become a
none of
marketer
them,
in
none
the
of them. Unfortunately, that is the truth. I am studying marketing as well, so I know none of them are good enough. Sorry.
But if you have to give them like a starting point where they
ChatGPT,
can
ChatGPT and Bard. I think for copywriting, Bard is really, really good. It gives you really good copy because a lot of people say it has been trained on Google Ads. So it just does well in copywriting. And ChatGPT really does well when it comes to getting feedback. So anytime I create a carousel or a poster, I upload the poster or carousel on ChatGPT and get visual feedback. So I say that act as a senior marketer and give me feedback on the visuals and copywriting and messaging. So that's a very, very good way. So I don't use AI anymore to get ideas. I only use AI to give me feedback. And it does a great job at criticizing. It does a terrible job at making something good, but it does a great job at pointing out mistakes, just like common janta.
how much hate do you get to?
Thankfully, very little. Thank God. I barely get any negative comments.
And with respect to Midjourney and Dali and all that, probably UX guys use more the Figma that you were talking about. In Figma also, can there be any possibility of AI tools coming in very soon?
Even in Figma, they are launching a lot of crazy AI tools. It's going to be game changing for like brainstorming, coming up with better ideas. I'm pretty sure they're working on like a single click tool where you can click and quickly you'll get wireframes, quickly you'll get UI, and then you can build on top of that. So the biggest advantage of AI is that you now start from a proper platform. Earlier, people used to start from a blank canvas, and that used to have a lot of inertia, starting from a blank piece of paper. So I think every tool is going to have this, and the way we deliver, the way we work, the speed at which we deliver good work, the speed at which beginners will catch up, it's just going to skyrocket.
I have to admit, guys, that ChatGPT did do a very shitty job. The kind of questions that it asked didn't really cut through. I looked through the questions. Probably the prompt didn't work that well, but I'm hoping that you guys can ask some interesting questions, and that's why I'm opening the floor for you guys.
My name is Dhruv Gupta.
Hi, bro.
Yeah, hi. So, in this whole conversation, one thing was really missing was finance. So, I want to ask that how AI can affect the particular investing part, right from the Series A, C to like mature investing.
Yeah, so I personally have no practical experience using AI for finance, and to be honest, I have three territories जिसमें बोलता हूँ AI को बिल्कुल मत use करो. One is investing your own money, healthcare, and legal. तो ये तीन ऐसे subjects हैं, and I'll tell you the logic behind this, right? AI is really, really good at doing things that have a prescription. If you can prescribe something, you can automate it. Now, when can you prescribe something? When the variables affecting that outcome are fixed, which means कि अगर मैं AI को बोलूँ कि 5 into 4 कर, 5 और 4 fixed है, ये बदलेंगे नहीं, तो answer is a prescribed answer. When it comes to stock market में जो एक stock का price होता है, that is influenced by variables that are constantly changing. Which means that for AI, it's very difficult to first of all track all of the variables, क्योंकि अगर कहीं COVID आ गया है और ChatGPT को पता ही नहीं कि ये COVID आ गया है, तो वो वेरिएबल अननोन है AI के लिए. Same with healthcare. In healthcare, there are so many variables in your body influencing the outcome that you have no clue. Same with legal. It's very subjective. The lines are very blurry. So try to make sure you don't use AI for subjective decisions. For objective decisions, when the variables are fully in your control and predictable, वहाँ पर you can use AI. But for things like investing, the variables are out of our control, so not recommended.
Okay, so but there are several models. Basically, what I can say, there are some robo-advisory models. So you put into some inputs like your age, your income, and your savings rate, and all these, and they come out with asset allocations.
But आपको कितने क्वेश्चंस पूछने पड़ते हैं बिफोर एसेट एलोकेशन. सो नाउ इट डिपेंड्स कि आपको इनफ क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहा है नहीं पूछ रहा. जब वो आपसे क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहा है, इट इज ट्राइंग टू सेट कॉन्टेक्स्ट, राइट. अब अगर उसने एक क्वेश्चन ये नहीं पूछा कि आपको अगले 3 साल में कोई परचेज करना ही नहीं करना, ये क्वेश्चन पूछा ही नहीं, तो वो तो ऐसा लॉग इन बनाएगा ना जो 10 साल की टेंटेटिव रिटर्न्स दे रहा हो. तो नाउ इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द टूल कि टूल आपसे ऑनबोर्डिंग में कौन कौन से क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहा है. द क्वालिटी ऑफ द ऑनबोर्डिंग क्वेश्चंस विल डिसाइड वेदर दिस टूल इज गुड इनफ और नॉट.
Got it. Thank you.
Hello, I am Hitesh Gautam. My question is related to UX, like how AI and UX together are going to change the things. Like I was having a discussion with one of my friends from Zomato, and they were saying like a lot of images on Zomato now these days are created using AI for the food. And sooner, will the, let's say, the flows that user do, the user flows, are they going to be like more of an automated way you are prompting like I just want to eat something, and then they like it is deciding the food preferences according to you and it is ordering for you as well. So what is your thoughts?
Yeah. So see, so many things to consider here. सबसे पहले तो nobody knows what these design tools will allow when it comes to using AI. जैसे अभी आपने बोला कि शायद ये user flows में कर पाए, right? But अगर आपको एक user का flow AI से generate करना है, you need to put in so much of context. या तो आप एक weak context डालो और फिर आपको जब AI user flow देगा तो you build on top of that. So there are two ways that you can use AI as a designer. Number one, you give weak context और फिर आपको जो भी AI answer दे रहा है, you build on top of that. Because अब आप answer पे compound कर रहे हो. दूसरा, you spend a lot of time on your prompts, you spend a lot of time giving context, फिर वो आपको ये answer देगा. But the honest truth answer is that you still can't rely on it. Because for AI, as I said, उसको एक certain point तक पता है कि user कैसे सोच रहा है. But the users are also evolving, right? User behavior is also evolving with time. It is so difficult to tell how you are thinking today versus yesterday. आज हो सकता है आज सुबह आपके साथ ऐसा कुछ हुआ हो that will change the way you use UPI. कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? आज आपको कोई ऐसा habit shift हुआ which changes the way you use WhatsApp. So I personally feel that AI will just help us fast track some mundane tasks. When you say कि Zomato के अंदर कुछ images है जो AI ने replace कर दिया है, that is okay, but that is not UX. UX के अंदर there are so many things. उसमें से एक UI आता है. UI में से भी एक छोटा सा aspect है product imagery. And product imagery के अंदर भी हम pretty sure कि Zomato क्या कर रहा होगा कि खाने का dish रखा होगा और वो background change कर रहा होगा. But खाना itself AI से नहीं बना रहा होगा. क्योंकि अगर आपने खाने का item AI से बना दिया तो chef उसको replicate कैसे करेगा, right? तो AI से आप क्या कर सकते हो? Background change कर सकते हो, lighting change कर सकते हो, camera rotate कर सकते हो. But जो core food का item है, जो शेफ हाथ से बना रहा है, वो तो AI से जनरेट नहीं कर सकते. अदरवाइज यूजर का फीडबैक नेगेटिव आ जाएगा कि भाई AI ने तो इतना सुंदर बर्गर बनाया था, तुमने मुझे क्या भेज दिया. सो आई थिंक इट इज स्टिल टाइम. एंड folks, my recommendation to everyone would be कि हमें ना आदत होती है ये पूछने की फ्यूचर में क्या होगा, फ्यूचर में क्या होगा. अभी हमें ये समझना है कि प्रेजेंट में क्या हो रहा है एंड हाउ डू वी अडेप्ट टू द प्रेजेंट. बिकॉज जब तक हम फ्यूचर की प्रेडिक्शन करेंगे, फ्यूचर हमारी एक्सपेक्टेशन से बिल्कुल डिफरेंट होगा. जैसे लोग कोविड में भी कितनी स्पेक्यूलेशंस करते थे कि पोस्ट कोविड पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा, लाइफ चेंज हो जाएगी. सो आई वुड रेकमेंड यू टू स्टे स्टिल, जस्ट स्टडी योर सब्जेक्ट्स वेल एंड डू व्हाट इज करंटली हैपनिंग, व्हिच मींस FigJam करके एक टूल है जो फिग्मा का ही है, उसके अंदर AI ऑलरेडी आ गया है. स्टार्ट प्रैक्टिसिंग दैट एंड सी हाउ गुड इज दैट. बट डोंट वरी कि आगे 3 महीने बाद क्या होगा. नोबडी नोस.
I hope that you guys have found this to be informative. I hope that people listening to this or watching this on YouTube find this interesting, and I hope that you find some subscribers as well for your channel. Thank you once again for coming in here and sharing your knowledge with all of us.